Evening.
Everybody still there? Okay.
Oh, hello.
When I go to live stream, I go to an entirely different screen, so I can't see you anymore.
Oh,
That's when I share in my speech sessions with certain students, I end up not being able to see them, and I'm hoping they're still in a seat.
Great. Okay.
I hope Mary,
So we are live streaming because for the folks who are retiring, if their families want to watch, I don't want them to miss any of it. So I started that early. So in case you're seeing that and wondering why we're
I'm having technical difficulties.
are. Why?
I'm stealing Brian's computer. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Is that Tom? Is that Tom with the technical difficulties?
Laura.
Laura.
No,
Laura.
I'm joking.
I'm also having trouble with the video.
We're good?
We
Okay.
can hear you, Tom.
Yeah.
Seven o'clock, Barry.
We're still waiting on a
Right.
lot of people.
Well, why don't we get started?
All right.
Go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
flag
of
of
the United States
States of America.
and to the republic
which
For
is
which
which it
stands
stands,
one nation
under
under
God,
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 indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
All right. So, let's go to the retiree recognition. Get my, Jen Leggett, what could you possibly have to do that's more important than, coming and hanging?
well, as I was saying to Cheryl, 50 years I've spent in an academic institution, so it's going to be a change.
Yeah, but you can't count the first 22 years that you were in high school.
Do you think it's
That's
time to graduate?
yeah. No, it's did everybody join or?
So we have Nancy, Jennifer, Mary. I don't see Mike and I don't see Nick Bednarski.
Okay.
But
Well, we've got what do we got? We got over 100 years of service and retirees. I only see the 4 though. Did you have a 5th?
no, we have 4 retirees. It was Earl,
Okay.
but Earl couldn't join us.
Right. Okay. So Jen, Nancy, Mary, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm not sure who's going to keep the place running with all that experience going out the door.
And we have some people who are prepared with some kind words for each of our folks who are retiring. I
Okay.
know John Ahern is on, who's going to share some kind words about Jennifer and Nancy and his support and thanks for all of your good service and work. So John, are you here?
I'm right here. Yep.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, go ahead.
Is it time to start? Is it meeting?
Yes.
Oh yeah, meeting started.
Okay. All right. So Jen, I guess we should go alphabetical, right? So we'll do Jen first and then Nancy. Jen, you became president the day I started working at Millbrook. And in that time, you had a very difficult job, and you did it very well. And you were incredibly supportive to all of your colleagues, and we relied on you, and we were lucky to have you. It's going to be very hard to continue without you because you were such a calm presence and such a rational person. You are leaving giant shoes to fill, and that is certainly not lost on me or lost on anybody else in the MTA or the executive board. So I remember Lloyd Jager would talk about the imprint of a leaf left. Like he would talk about fossils. And I don't know why he would hold forth on fossils for so long, but it would take a while, longer than this. But Jen, you are leaving behind one hell of a fossil here at Millbrook. And we thank you for it. And we're not going to be the same without you. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much.
That's very kind. I appreciate your kind words.
Will be next.
It's the very least I could do, Jen. Nancy, I remember when I was in second grade and you were maybe even first grade, you were our room mother over at St. Martin de Porres. Are you here, Nancy?
I'm here.
All right. And I remember learning how to read and write from you.
Thank you.
Well, and so I'm 41 years old, Nancy.
Yeah, don't remind me. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's all right. Yeah. This is a great moment for me because you were my teacher and you became my colleague. And as a teacher, I remember you were excellent. I have firsthand knowledge of that. I remember you teaching me how to write and teaching me how to read. I had heard rumors that you were teaching at Millbrook when I was hired, and I saw you 2 doors down from me my first day there, and I was very happy. You were a wonderful colleague to me, as you were a wonderful colleague to the rest of us. You, like Jen, had a calming and intelligent influence on the goings on, and it was very important. So and I remember you had sort of hinted at a possible retirement years ago. And I asked you if I could have you had this like organizational thing, like a set of cubby boxes.
Mailbox.
Yeah, it was really nice though. And like those are super expensive. But yours was really nice. And Citaro had one. And I wanted yours, but I went in. I was like, "So, are you gonna leave that here?" And you said you weren't ready to retire, and I felt like a jerk for asking for your mailboxes, but I was very happy that you weren't retiring. I loved working with you, as did everybody else. Besides the humor and the intelligence, there was the talent for teaching and writing. And the kids were very, very well served by you. You are clearly a master of the language, and that can't be taught. So with every ounce of respect I have From myself and from my colleagues, we bid you the fondest farewell, and we look forward to seeing you around as often as humanly possible.
Again, thank you for your kind words, but you don't get rid of me because of my daughter's relationship with your wife. So we're kind of connected.
Oh, well, yeah, but and then your grandkids and my daughter, Emma.
Exactly.
They're gonna.
But I want to tell you that if you want my mailbox, you'll have to speak with Brian Freed, because ServPro.
What's he gonna do with it?
ServPro took it out with the mold issue, so maybe he can make some reparations.
Was
for
that
you.
where the mold came from?
Because it was a fossil.
No. Well, no, because when we switched to digital stuff, it didn't alphabetizing their last names and having papers handed in order. It wasn't quite the issue. But my first 2 years, I spent a good hour a day.
I'm glad you don't need it anymore, because it went. It's gone with the wind, even though we're not supposed to talk about that movie anymore. So.
All right. Well, I mean, quite frankly, Nancy, I just never mind. Gone with your reference. All right. Well, I'm not gonna take the mailbox, but I know I'm gonna see you again because of Emma and the granddaughters. So that's good.
Yep.
But still, we have to say goodbye to you. Everyone's gonna miss you. You were really, really funny, and it was awesome to work with you. And I'm sorry you're leaving.
No, thank you. It's the only thing that I have to say to you is I don't remember. Jennifer is the epitome of calm. I don't remember myself being that.
No, because someone would say something.
Thank you for including that.
No. So
I like
this is
that
how it
trait.
would go down. Someone would walk. It'd be in the morning. Someone would say something just howlingly stupid, and you'd be like, "Oh, really?" And then you'd sort of draw them out about their plan, and then all of a sudden, this incredibly stupid plan would become a more reasonable, regular plan. So you absolutely were a calming influence.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
How
many people are at this meeting?
I don't know, John.
All right.
Quite a few.
Oh, good.
21.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you very much, Jen. It's an honor to say goodbye to you, and I know that the faculty will miss you, and I will miss you greatly.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
being here.
anytime.
I think Tom is here, and he wanted to have some kind words for Mary, who's been here for 35 years. So Tom.
Wow. All right. So about Mary Triller, our office yearbook collection goes back to 1995, so I can't quite go back to your date, Mary. But I got a special picture I'll show you, and it's pretty hard to see maybe.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Where's Mary in the picture? And so you see her above the upper right of the sign. And they really, in 1995, they really were hurting for pictures. So we just head across. Where's Mary? And again, up in the upper right. And like I said, they really liked this activity. So where's Mary? Didn't even have to turn pages here.
Oh, I can see it.
Mary's back in the upper right yet, but a few rows back. So Mary has been smack in the middle of Millbrook activity for 35 years, kindergarten into the high school even at times. You can count on Mary to come to work daily and do what's asked of her. This year I asked Mary to work in our Alden Place all-purpose room for student arrivals, and she did an excellent job. Began the class excitement for each and every day. Mary has relatives in Seattle. I kid her from time to time that she's going out there to be a Starbucks barista, but it's probably not true. But she'll be visiting Seattle for a while. And she did let me know that she'd like to do some subbing, but she'd require 4 days of notice.
I'm sorry.
She is a little leery of flying, and so she'd have to drive it over here. So as she begins this new stage, we wish her the best. She certainly gave us her best. And thank you, Mary.
Well, thank you.
Work with you.
It was great working with you. Thank you very much.
It's funny because I never know in the picture where to look. And I have a couple words also about Nancy. I also went back, not quite as far, I'm sorry, Mary.
Oh, that's okay.
Nancy.
He's younger than I am, though. I want, just,
Not much.
no, not much.
No,
Our birthdays are right next door to one another.
that's right.
When I look back at the old yearbooks I found from, this one's from 2002, and this is Mrs. Pelez working in, I think it was fourth grade. So this,
Yes.
Wow, look at that.
Mhm.
so she was doing a living scenario at Alden Place and with third and fourth. And then after 2 years of working with Nancy, she moved to co-anchor the ELA department in sixth grade for the middle school, the new middle school.
He's driving me crazy.
Spent lots of years there. And Nancy helped shape the lives of a few thousand students along the way, teaching them to read, to write, to care. I always think about her concern over grammar. And we've had some great discussions about that. But one of my favorite memories about Nancy is that when she returned to Alden Place to teach a few years ago, she started what was called the Poetry Cafe with grade 4, teaching a great poetry unit with Paul Pesco. And I know the board might remember when Paul came and did a presentation also. So for 3 years that happened, and Nancy enriched that instruction due to that great vision that she has. Nancy also recently built a new house nearby, and she enjoys her grandkids immensely. She'll now work with a smaller group,
Yes.
teaching them to love to read and to care. We want to thank you for your time working with children in Millbrook, Nancy. And two more things. I wrote one more in my little note here, but it's two more things. So Nancy left her personal desk in her classroom, and we wondered, what in the world do we do with this? So we asked her, and she said, give it to Jen Hunt. So it's a classic wooden desk with 6 drawers. Fantastic. And Jen Hunt will now utilize its magic. But Nancy, to add value to that desk, Jen has asked if you'd stop by next week and please carve your name in the pencil drawer. And one more thing then, finally, I was checking the filing cabinets in your classroom for the custodians that were doing some cleaning, Nancy, and just wanted to ask, what were you planning to do with 47 boxes of chalk?
Never, I have to tell you, I don't know how many of you knew Jean Sterpoli. And that's probably a fossil by now, right, Jennifer?
Yes.
But
Wait, is that Sarah Starpoli's mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? I went to
Okay.
kindergarten with Sarah Starpoli, but go
Yes.
on.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I do
All right.
remember that, John.
Yeah, all right.
But anyway, I inherited her room when I moved to Alden to 4th grade. Back in the day when we had about $500 for requisition money, and I have never ordered chalk, paper clips, staples. I can't tell you the gold mine that was in Jean Sterpoli's cabinets. And so I took it all with me when I went to the middle school, because in the days that I first got up to the middle school, there was nothing there, right, Brian? We had nothing. So, I've never ordered chalk, Tom.
So we have clips and chalk, fellow principals. Get that done. Anyway, may the best be with your future plans, Nancy.
Well, you too, Tom. It was a really great pleasure. I enjoy your humor and our conversations. I wish you had visited me more in class when I invited you in, but well, that's too bad for you. But anyway, and your morning announcements through this period of time have made my mornings. I really felt connected by it was a simple thing to do, but it was an important thing to do.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And Caroline has some kind words for Jennifer.
Yes, so first I want to say thank you. Since my arrival here as the high school principal, I've worked with Jennifer collaborating on students and also worked on various initiatives when Jennifer was the union president in the district. We had to collaborate on multiple different topics, and in every situation, Jennifer was very collaborative, and she worked hand in hand with the administration which was very much appreciated from our end. And I believe that we were equally as collaborative. So I do believe that Jennifer appreciated that as well. So I certainly appreciate the partnership. We are definitely losing a whole lot of knowledge in Jennifer as a speech language pathologist, so I appreciate that. You leaving is going to leave definitely a hole on the younger end of the district. Lauren Kelly is certainly well equipped to pick our students up once they get to Alden, but our little guys are going to need a suitable replacement to be able to carry your torch. It's amazing the amount of knowledge that you have when we bring a little tyke to you, and you can quickly diagnose whether it's a developmental issue or if the student actually needs your services. It's amazing how much knowledge and information that you have just at the ready for us. So it's certainly appreciated, but that comes, I know, with years and years and years of working in the field. So that is not something we're going to be able to replace very easily. So though we will hire for the position, it is going to take a very long time to have what we have with you, Jennifer, and we know that. So I appreciate all of the opportunities that we've had to work closely together. And I know that you have many opportunities now to be a grandma, and that's really exciting. And that's a really important journey as well. So I wish you lots of luck and lots of fun with that. And we will certainly miss you here and look forward to visiting and telling us all of your stories. So congratulations on that as well.
Well, thank you. I have to say it's been an honor working for Millbrook. It's been a great fit. I came from a small district. Even though I traveled around the world, my father was in the Air Force. I had Poughkeepsie and Arlington that were also asking to hire me. And when I came to Millbrook, I knew right away, this is a place that I could call home. And it has been that. The kids and families are terrific, and my colleagues have been great to work with, and the administration. Thank you, Caroline, for your kind words. I try really hard to find solutions, and I'm glad that it was recognized as a positive. So, but these little guys have been amazing in this distance learning world. And I couldn't have asked for a better set of parents to go along. We have worked as a team and gotten through all the ripples, and these kids have been amazing. And it's a wonderful way. I know it's an unusual way to leave, but in some ways I have been able to see some of the best from these kids and getting to know them in a unique way. So it's been hard in the last 2 days saying goodbye to them.
Sure. Well, thank you. Nick was supposed to join us, but he's probably having technical problems because he also had some words for Earl Smith, who is retiring. He couldn't join us this evening after 24 years of service. And then Mary, he has some stories and thank yous for you. So I'm sure he'll catch up with you at some point. And I just want to say, although brief, it was a pleasure and an honor getting to know you. I'm going to miss getting to know you more and learning from you. But what you have left behind has changed lives and really has created a structure and foundational strength for this district. And I truly appreciate it, sort of passing the torch of strength and good work. So thank you and enjoy your journey, your next journey, how exciting. And please make sure that you stay in touch and tell us what you're up to. And we may be knocking on your door because we probably have some clarifying questions. And may want to continue learning from you even when you're outside these walls. I don't know if anybody else in our group wants to say anything, or you might want to save it for another day and just sort of sprinkle the thank yous along the way. But
I'd be happy to speak to Earl.
Thank you.
Earl, we didn't speak much directly, but I saw you every day. You were an incredibly hard worker. You did incredibly good work. I remember having a conversation with Ann Knapp about you are the one man confident enough to take a lawnmower at that angle and at that speed and not fall off of what I would assume what looks like a sheer cliff. I remember watching you do that and being very impressed just by the sheer physics of it. And that was a spectacle watching that, but talking to you, watching you work on a daily basis, your hard work and your dedication was it made it easy to come to work knowing that we were working with people like you. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your very well-deserved retirement.
And Laura, Mike is here too, Mike Ragusa. So I just want to unmute him.
You're on mute, Mike.
Unmute yourself, Mike.
Unmute.
There you go.
That?
Yes, there you go.
Well, I can tell you it's going to take more than one person to replace Earl. Although I won't miss him hitting all my cars with rocks and stuff from the lawnmower, but he actually did more work than I think any two people could ever get done outside. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. He was a great worker, and I'm really going to miss him. So I hope he enjoys himself in his retirement. That's all I can tell you. He was a good guy.
I just wanted to take a quick second as a group. I mean, the dedication to the Millbrook Central School District is so obvious in you and all four of you. The way you've stuck with this district, the way, I mean, especially in this day and age when people don't stay at jobs, they don't, you know, they're more interested in their, you know, where's my next jump? Where's my next step? You guys epitomize the dedication that is needed in a foundation for a school district. And I just want to take, you know, a chance to say thank you to all of you folks, except for you, Jen, well, you know. But no, thank you to everybody. You guys have just been such a source of information, such a source of background. And we're going to miss you. So.
Before we go, I just wanted to say hi and bye to two of my favorite dads. I had their sons. That's Tom Lemkule and John Rudy. Your boys have never been forgotten. And I know it was many, many years ago, but they were in my first looping class. So I was lucky enough to have them for 2 years. And Mr. Lemkule, your second son, unfortunately, was in my second looping class, and he was fortunate enough to have me for 3 years. Your boys are great kids, and John, I have never forgotten Kyle and our
you survived it.
And our evenings after school. Because I was going to prove to him that he could get his work done. He was a very bright young man.
Thanks for everything.
I will pass on your kind words.
Thank you.
Nancy, the biggest thing you can say is that Tom couldn't take it without you. That's why he's leaving.
They're both still in school.
Well, that's a good thing.
I don't know. One's getting a little old.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just chime in on Earl. Earl just took incredible pride in his work, and he didn't say much, but you gave him an assignment, and did he tackle it? And like I said, the pride with which he did his work was pretty extraordinary, and just like Mike said, the amount of work that he did was great. And as for you, Miss Nancy, we had a good time together.
Yes, we did.
You did a lot of great stuff with social studies and ELA and reading and writing in the curriculum and bringing your colleagues along. And you're a really important part of that sixth grade team and that inaugural sixth grade team. So thank you for everything.
We've always been the sixth grade team, Brian. People just seem to forget that, but we had a great time and we thank you too.
I just wanted to say thank you to Jen. I'm going to miss you, and Gladys, can you come back and visit sometimes?
I will. I don't know if I'll stay for the entire meeting like I had.
Question. You got to ask a question.
Okay.
Gladys asked.
Okay. I'll work on that assignment.
Well, and run the question by us first before you ask it.
Yes, Big Daddy.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, and we seriously enjoy your you enjoy your retirement.
Well, thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Bye, Jen.
All
Bye.
right,
I will miss
Now-
you.
now on to the boring part.
Yep.
All right, let's move to the consent agenda. There were 3 things that were pulled out for discussion in executive session later. So do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
What,
Any discussion or anything else you want pulled?
what was pulled, what were the numbers pulled out?
The 3, I want to say 16, 17, 18, the original.
Okay, I'd like to pull 15 and not for exec, for open, just for open public session.
Okay.
Well, then can't we just talk about that now then? If it's not executive?
Yeah, 15 we can talk about.
Yeah, is there, well, before we go there, anything else from the consent agenda? Anyone wants pulled or wants to discuss more about? Okay. All right, Howard.
Excuse me, which item is 15? I'm not seeing 15. B, what, I see B up to 13. B 13? I don't see a 15.
No,
23.
are you all the way down? There's number C.
Oh, guess what? I'm on the wrong date.
Just stay with us out there, John. Don't worry about it.
What year is this?
Well, Perry also told you it's number C, so that kind of
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Jen wake up? I mean, join us?
It's the
Perry, that's when
transfer-
math got confusing for me, once they started using
yeah.
letters.
It's the transfer of the $25,000 to, concerning the transfer of to cover the cafeteria. I know we discussed this at length last public meeting. However, after viewing of the board meeting, that section board meeting over several times on the recording on YouTube, specifically with Mr. Freed on your answers concerning the $25,000, what the overage of the cafeteria fund was, and I found it very concerning that you could not and did not come up with any documentation or reasons for the overage at that time. And then when we went on for the year, well, the 25,000 was for the 2018-19 school year. And then when we discussed the 2019-2020 school year, which was only 5 months, we had a $45,000 shortfall in the cafeteria fund, with the same concern that we had no documentation or other than, we have 4 schools, you stated, and that the cost of the minimum wage went up. So what I would like, Mr. Freed, you to do, to present to the board, it would be a comparison for the month-by-month comparison written report for the year 2018-2019, comparing it with the 2019 through 2020 school year, which was only 5 months long, to see where the comparison shows where the 2018-19 school year was a total of $20,000 in arrears, and the 2019-20 school year of 5 months was $45,000 shortfall. I feel that the board, as the fiduciary agent of the taxpayer money, deserves to see a written report, and you should also, in this written report, attach and refer to documentation that is kept in the normal course of business in your office. So we have this to review, and I would ask for a 30-day turnaround. And if you cannot do a 30-day turnaround, at the end of the 30 days, then you report back to us for, and then explain what the reasons are you cannot move forward with that. You think you can do it in 30 days or?
So,
Are you
yeah, I unmuted. So I would say that if this is something that the board wants and is a directive issued through Perry or through the superintendent of schools, then we will make that happen. I guess I would just respectfully remind the board that Ms. Peters-Heady has been prepared to present all of the 18-19 financials for many months and would still like the opportunity to do that even as early as the next board meeting. She had been prepared. Mr. Rudy, I would say, maybe even going back as far as a year and a half, asked that we no longer present on January because it was impossible for him to be able to compare apples to apples. So Ms. Peters-Heady prepared a report that was on a December basis, and then was told pretty consistently after an illness that she dealt with in her family, was then for several months told, don't worry about it, we don't have time to do it now. So to the extent that the board is ready for that presentation, Ms. Peters-Heady has already expressed an interest in presenting all of 18-19. As for 19-20, we already know within the current months, the revenue shortfalls and the expenditure shortfalls. We know what that's attributable to on an analysis basis, or we have the documentation to be able to give that information to you, and we can do that. However, an analysis of the entirety of the year wouldn't be possible right now because we still have revenues coming in, because state aid is on a lag, and federal aid as well, and we're still receiving invoices from our vendors. So that would be, we actually have that as a tickler as an October meeting presentation. So whatever it is at the pleasure of the board, if they'd like us to come off of the cycle that we had prepared, then we can do that.
Okay.
I mean,
can I
go ahead,
finish for Perry? Thank you. I'm only asking for the 2019-20 for the 5 months we were physically open. I'm not asking for anything beyond that date. Secondly, you are the financial officer for this district. You are the deputy superintendent. No disrespect to Ms. Heady, but she does not have access to your files, or I hope not. And you would know the reasons of the $25,000 shortfall in the 2018 to 19. And that's why I'm requesting you to prepare the written report prior to Ms. Heady giving a presentation, which will not cover the financial aspects of everything dealing with that report.
I understand, Perry, and for the boards, for Howard and for everybody else, it is Ms. Heady's job to know and understand where her shortfalls are. She does have access to the paperwork because she does submit it. She understands where her revenue shortfalls are because she sees those reports in Envision and is responsible for helping to create those reports. So as the school lunch manager, she is the first person in line with all of that information. I'm happy to write a report if that's what the board is looking for, but this certainly all falls within the purview of Ms. Peters-Heady. So,
all right, so
whatever
I mean, I think
provide is fine.
I think the frustration you're hearing goes back to the discussion we had at the last meeting, that, there was no new news that, you said we have 4 buildings. Well, we've had 4 buildings for, as long as I can, back to the high school being built. You said the minimum wage went up. You said the parents weren't paying their bills. All of this stuff, if you plan properly and you look at, okay, so what on average, how many parents don't pay their bills? How much does this, you can talk about 4 buildings, 3 buildings, but that's not in the planning. We know how many employees we have. We know how many buildings we have. We know approximately how many meals we're going to eat, you know, within 10%. We know how many parents, you know, I mean, I can't believe 1 year, because it never balances. That's the bottom line. And after a while, you would think you would have sort of enough experience built up to say, okay, I'm going to assume that it's going to run over by 25 or 10 grand. So maybe my budget increases in that amount because I know how many on average. And then when you show it to us, here's the amount I booked in the plan that covers parents that don't pay their bills, or whatever the, you know, the focus items were. Here's the, you know, and now if propane goes up, you know, triples in price mid-year, there's a big surprise. You document that, we understand it. But every year we have this same discussion, and we were going to get better. I mean, that's the thing. We got better to 25 grand. We thought, wow, we're going to get better again. And now we're at 45 grand for this year. So the frustration is, you know, how can this keep happening? And what are we going to do differently to stop it? Because, I mean, you know, if you look at the election that we just had, the budget vote, we had 1,000 people vote yes. We had 500 vote no. And I got to believe that some of that is, hey, wake up a little bit. Let's get a little more scrutiny on the budget. Let's pay a little more attention. And let's not have things like this pop up at the end of the year where we suddenly got to go find 45 grand or 25 grand to pay for it. So, you know, if need be, we'll review this every month. You know, here's my expenditures, here's my revenue. Oh, geez, you know, it really is off because I don't know why. But the first thing I think is to really get an understanding of what happened here. You know, why? I mean, you can document the revenue, document the expenditures, but why aren't they matching? Well, in October we had 10% parents not paying their bill. In I don't know, in November we had turkeys went up by a bunch. I don't know what happened, but that's what I think we need. We've got to do a better job of getting some of these items that, you know, whether they're past, this is the way we've always done it, or, you know, that's kind of what this feels like with the cafeteria. Every year, you know we're going to run under, whatever it is. So, all right, you know, let's just go get fined 45 grand. All right. So, I mean, I think the thing that's on the table right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, is you're asking for this one to be taken off the consent agenda and sort of held until we look at this stuff in July. Is that right?
Well, if there was any real need to pay it, which there probably isn't, we should take it off. I agree, and hold it until we have some documentation to show that the taxpayer money is being spent properly.
So one of the things I'd like to share is that you'll remember that at one point we had a $55,000 interfund transfer annually. We brought that down to $45,000. And last year we brought it down to $35,000. So one of the reasons that you are also seeing the request at the end of the year is, with our best faith effort, we're doing what we can to reduce what we pay out of the general fund. So that was reduced to the tune of, again, $20,000 over 2 years or maybe 3 years. So the difference is, instead of asking for it in the beginning of the year, that 20,000 additional 20,000 is asked for at the end, because we're saying, well, we're certainly hoping that we don't need it. We're certainly hoping that we get the presentation, and it's not the participation, and it's not just hope. And you'll see the presentation. There are very specific things that Holly has done and her crew has done to increase participation, and you'll have the benefit of being able to see that. But I don't want that lost. That's an important point. We actually have reduced the amount of the interfund transfer over time, and it just happens to be that we needed to be able to ask for that at the end of the year, because despite all best efforts, we weren't able to make it happen.
But Mr. Freed, no documentation. Again, you came up saying we need $25,000 in the month of June. Our fiscal year ends July 1. You came up and said, okay, you didn't have the exact figure. Tom Lemkiel asked you for the exact figure. You looked it up, but you had no other documentation to provide to us other than saying, well, this is the money we need.
Could I just point out one thing? That in the monthly financial reports, there is a monthly profit loss statement for that fund.
It doesn't explain it though.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you should, if we have to have, there has to be an assumption of the number of parents that are the participation, the number of parents that aren't going to pay their bill, that, you know, the things that are variable. We have to have some assumptions at the beginning of the year, which was what we build our budget. Then every month, like, let's say that we assume we're going to have a 10% no pay, you know, they're not going to pay, or a 5% non-participation. We should be able to see, oh, geez, you know, we planned on 10%, but it was really 14%. We planned on 5%, but it was really 8%. So that we can sit there and say, I get it. Now, how do we fix this? Next year, do we just bump that number up? That's the best we can do? Or is there a way we can, you know, something we can do about pieces of this? You know,
sure, that's fine. And if you would like, Perry, we're happy to present monthly. But I guess I would ask, please don't assume that these conversations aren't happening. You just, the board isn't hearing them. So we can absolutely come, but Holly and I meet weekly. We talk about our revenues and our expenditures. We talk about what's getting done differently and what we can do. So I just want to make that this isn't something that we're just setting, winding up and letting go. These important discussions that you're describing are absolutely happening. So we're happy to bring that to the board level.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
So
if I could just say something, you really don't want a monthly report here. You really don't want it. Because in the early part of the year, there's mostly expenditures. I mean, you can't see a good picture. You've got to let a number of months go by on the new year to see where things are at. So it may be a quarterly thing or maybe twice a year, but we'll get there.
yeah, I would honestly like to be able to do it, you know, half years or quarterly at the most.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to get this, you know, where we're not being hit with this big bill at the end of the year, you know, at least since I've been on the board, and I know you guys were talking about it when I joined. So, I mean, we've got to do a better job of documenting our assumptions, you know, even the monthly stuff, if we have to, which I consider micromanaging, but if we have to, what was your assumption for, you know, participation in October? I'm assuming 10% non-participation. What was it really? It's 14%. All right, there's 4% that I can understand. But I can't understand if we're just talking about, here's the money coming in, here's the money going out, because that doesn't tell me what you assumed was going to happen or expect to happen, what you planned on happening. Because you must have that, because that's how you build a budget.
So
right.
I have a proposal that I'd ask for, Perry, your consideration with the board. And I think at this point, it may be wise for us to even think about setting up some version of a cafeteria committee with a couple of members of the board that are able to take a deep dive to understand truly, because there is a lot of nuance and there's a lot of weeds. So I would be, I think we may want to consider that, where a couple of board members sit with me and Holly and Laura and anyone else who may have interest. and be able to take that deep dive, so there could be some restoration of confidence that that some of the questions that feel like they're not being asked are, and at least we're able to show the lens of continuous improvement through which we look, and be able to share what cafeteria financials really do look like. So if that's something of interest, we'd be happy to do that.
So does anybody have any problem if we take number 15 off of the consent agenda and park it for till late July?
Just know one consequence, and that may be fine, but one consequence of doing that is that the auditor is going to see that there was no attempt made to pay down that additional debt. It's going to be a remark on our end of the year financials, because they do like to be able to see some movement. About 6 years ago, we actually transferred $155,000 because we allowed that to accrue. We didn't do anything with it, and it wasn't a good note on our cafeteria financials. So if that's the board's choice, so be it. But it would just be like we need to collectively be prepared for a note on our end of the year financials.
So Brian, question. So for a bunch of years to get to the 155,000, I think it was 168 if I remember right, but I could be wrong. There were no issues for all those years up to the 155 transfer.
When you say no issues, do you mean that there wasn't anything on our end of the year financials? No,
Yes.
it was in the management letter, and it would, and we've made significant progress, which is, and that was noted by the auditor. For those of you on the audit committee, you'll remember that, and it'll return.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I mean, if I was an auditor, I'd rather see that the thing is being held open until it can be explained versus they're just finding money in some other account.
They accept the explanation. They understand because they do all the school districts that have the same issue. So it's not an issue for the auditors, except to mention it.
Tom, did you?
Yeah. So financially, so if you have a tighter budget next year and you don't pay this year, you're going to be on the hook for, well, I guess you don't have to pay it, of course. So my only worry is that if you have the money now to pay it down, should you carry it over, which you're probably going to run into a series of tight budgets here over the next couple of years, I would imagine, because of the economic realities. So that would be my only concern. If you don't pay it now, you're carrying, the debt over to where you may not be able to pay it. But if we were doing 150,000, it didn't really have any consequences. Then if you don't pay it for a few years, apparently it's not going to really have that much of other than being the auditor's report.
Well, and it goes up to the state, and you have to do a corrective action plan, and all of that's involved. But there's an acknowledgement that.
Well, what did we vote on last time, Tom? What did we vote, Tom? You remember what we voted on last time? Was it to pay the 25,000? And what was the vote? 4-3?
Yeah. Barry was
okay. So we already voted on something. We're reversing something that we voted on. Is that what we're doing in the last meeting, 2 meetings ago?
Well, we took a straw poll. We didn't vote on a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, that's basically what we're doing. I mean, I'm open. The point that we were sort of listening to at the last meeting was, if we pay this off before the end of the year, we can use this year's money and not get gigged for it. So what I'm asking you guys is, do we,
if we paid the 25,000 and still did the backlog work and did some of the reporting and things like that, I just want to warn everybody too with, we need this information, but like Tom said, if we have the money now to pay at least a part of it, and then, to create a situation where we're trying to get school open in a way like we never have before, we're having the central office and the superintendent create these committees, which is going to be a great amount of work. I would just be careful with, not because I'm an administrator, but just, we got to be careful of there's going to be a lot coming up this year. That's all I want to warn everybody. You know, making
Priority.
corrective action plans
All right.
can be very, you know, and I'm not saying that, look, we didn't hear from Holly. You know, whatever superintendent that left, whatever that was, that didn't occur. But I'm just saying, let's just all be very careful about, you know, what's coming up for the future here for September. There's a lot going on. And I think we can get these answers somehow. But
All
I
right,
don't know.
so, I mean, the only thing that's on the consent agenda is whether or not we transfer the funds and pay that now.
Paul, I agree with you that if Mr. Freed would have presented some documentation, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now.
I hear
So
you.
it's not the board's fault here. It's not, if it's anybody's fault, we weren't presented with the proper information to spend taxpayer money on.
I understand that point. I get that. I'm just trying to see from all the lenses, you know what I mean? You know, I hear you.
Well, and I guess I'll put it out to the board then. Straw poll on whether or not we pull this or not.
Clarification, is this 25 is for the prior year? It's not for this year, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that, with paying it.
Jen?
Yeah, I agree. Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah. Paul?
Yeah, I think we should pay the 25 and then get the answers to the questions that Howard is asking and you know, get that done.
Tom?
So I'm looking at the most recent profit loss statement, which I don't know, it's pretty well documented. The only thing I would say is missing that I can't see a number on is like owed debt. Everything else is documented there. I don't know if you guys have looked at the.
Yeah, so thanks, Tom, for saying that. The profit loss is there every month, and I guess I would just, well, Perry,
again,
I would just say, Perry, I would just say that every,
It shows all your expenses.
but what we do ask is, does anybody have any questions on the financials? So assuming
Profit and
none,
loss does not tell us that you expected to see a $10,000 or $5,000 or 26% no pay, no participation each month.
But
And then at the month, this is where it actually hit. It shows us what those numbers were, the actuals.
But that's what you're asking for.
No, but
That's what Howard asked for. He wants to understand where the 25,000 went.
Right, but the
Well, that's
part
what
of
it
that
shows.
is understanding the assumptions that go behind it. You can't just throw a budget together and say, I'm assuming I'm going to get this much in, and I'm assuming this much is going to go out, and that's it. You make assumptions of, you know, hey, I've looked at the last 5 years. Here's the number of parents that haven't paid their bills month by month. Here's the number of what do you call it when they don't eat the meals. Here's these numbers, and here's what my assumptions are that went into building this budget. Then the actuals versus the planned make total sense. Oh, that's why we're going to end up at the end of the year with 45 grand of, you know, debt that we've got to go cover again.
So you guys are asking for two things. One, you want a financial forecast, and second, you want a profit loss for the actuals. You're looking for a forecast and actuals.
And those should be
I
tied
thought
together.
Howard just wanted actuals explained.
No, and if you look at what we should have when we start this next school year is a set of, I would say monthly, if not, you know, or quarterly, if not monthly assumptions that go into building the budget. And then be able to see the you know, revenue and loss against that says, hey, we're right on track. Because that at the end of the year would say, hey, guess what? You don't know, you know, we were pretty good on our assumptions. And you know, you got to go look at past how many parents don't pay their bills. I mean, I can't believe this year was, I mean, if you think about it, $45,000 in the hole for less than 1,000 kids. We're talking every parent in the district owes us 45 bucks. That's no, that can't be. So the planning versus the actuals then then hopefully we don't ever have to see it. We can see it quarterly just to say, oh yeah, we're right on plan. But that's the only way we're ever going to get to a balance.
So the budget is only created once a year, Perry, in the beginning.
Right.
So
It should only be. But when
Yeah.
your plan that goes into building that budget and then the plan versus actuals, you were planning on this many not eating and 10 times that didn't eat. You were planning on throwing away this much food, or the price of hamburger being, you don't get down to that level, but the price of your purchases was going to be this and it doubled. Those numbers tell us whether or not the original plan had any validity at all.
So one question in regards to that, Brian, you do show on the 45,000 for this year?
Yeah.
Doesn't that includes the 25 carryover though? It seems.
That's correct.
So it's really similar.
The last time we talked, there was 70. If we did them both, it was 25 and 45 is what we talked about.
It was
last
60.
meeting.
We were talking about 60, Perry.
Right, but
was two
doesn't this
separate
45 have the 25 included in it?
It does. The previous year's loss is listed on that profit loss statement as well. The
So
amount
why-
or the amount owed that was described before. Yes, it's there.
So
You're
then why do
saying
we
two
get
different
up-
things.
No, so
You're
why do we
saying
get
two
this-
different things. You're
So how do
saying
we
that
get
the-
up to 60 total then? Why isn't the 45 the total for 2 years?
We actually had a better month in April than we had anticipated, and we were anticipating a loss. That's why we wanted to go as high as an interfund transfer of 60 based on what we would have needed. So it just so happened that, let me pull up those financials. It just so happened that April wasn't May wasn't as bad as we had anticipated. And a lot of what we do in budget creation, just because we're forced into this way, we figure out what our expenses are going to be. And then we create a revenue package that we hope to meet. And that's just what it is. When you have fixed costs, that's just what it is. And I know, and for the finance committee or for the committee that works on this and delves into it, when we have minimum wage raising at 70 cents an hour per employee per hour, we have to figure out what our cost is.
So let me finish the straw poll. So I think if I go back to the beginning, Jen said pay it, Tom said pay it, John, did you say pay it or pay it? Howard, you say no?
No,
Claudia?
I'd say pay it with documentation. If we receive,
I'm basically saying, do we pay it now?
well, if we have a 30-day documentation, then I would agree to pay it, but but not without that, being part of my vote. Otherwise, you're paying something based upon verbal nothing, and that's not the way you pay tax money away.
Claudia?
No, I think we'd have to pay it, but we definitely need documentation.
So you're saying don't pay it until we get the documentation?
No, it has to be paid. I mean, I
Okay.
think we do have to
All
do that. But we definitely need to figure out why this is all happening.
All right. Yeah, and maybe we need to go back, maybe we do need to have a committee go back like 3 or 4 years and work our way up to, how do we end up in these positions? Because it's not a matter of 1 year. This is a constant thing. And I'll go along with paying it just to get this off our back. But, we have to find a way to do a much better job of figuring this out. All right. So go ahead and pay it, Brian, or transfer it or whatever.
Yeah, transfer it over. Might I suggest that when we do the committees next month, that the finance committee might have a subcommittee then that would do the cafeteria, would look at cafeteria, but we can discuss that.
Perry, do you have board members? Would you like to set this committee up?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We have our organization meeting at the next meeting. Okay, so the consent agenda still has item 15 on it. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? Okay, all right. All right. All right, Board of Education, President, Vice President's report. The only thing I have a couple of things to talk about. One is, I just, I hope the public is watching. I hope the public sees this. We know the times are tough. We understand, we're doing our best to, as they say, sharpen our pencils. But the fact that the public came out and truly supported the district again was a really, just a wonderful thing. But I do recognize, we do recognize that, this was a low compared to our normal. This was a low percentage, about, I don't know, 66% yes. And I think it's people are asking us to, take a little more care, look a little deeper. So, I'm thrilled to death. I also wanted to, I know we've said it a bunch of times, but the folks that worked the election, the folks that sent out the ballots, just, put themselves at risk. And to do that for us, to really make this happen and, be one of the districts that was ready on time, it was fantastic. So I'm hoping that they all hear this because that was wonderful. I wanted to welcome Chris Rosenbergen although after the last, I don't know, hours discussion, he may have just like dropped off. But welcome to the board, Chris.
Glad
And
to be
welcome
here.
back,
Thank you,
Howard.
Barry.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. All right. And then the other thing, I know you guys are going to talk about it some more. But, well, two other things. Tom, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. They talk about commitment to the district. You're a perfect example of public commitment to doing the right thing and making sure that public education is controlled and taken care of. And I just want to, I mean, since I've joined the board, you've been nothing but a help to me in understanding, well, basically everything. So Tom, I wanted to say thank you. I don't know if anybody else on the board wants to roast Tom a little bit. That's usually more fun.
Well, I do want to say, Tom, for my vice president report, the end of the year, and it was because of you helping to train me originally that made me see that just because I came from a civil service background and you came from a business background, there were numerous times that I've changed my opinion on a vote because you've explained your thought process to me on things I would never even have entered into thinking about. And we're going to miss you. It's going to be, Chris, you're going to be great, but Tom, you're really one in a million.
Yeah, I want to echo Howard too. I think you stated it really well, Howard. First of all, Chris, congratulations. Howard, congratulations to you again. Tom, there's only two people that were able to shut me up. You're the third. My mother's gone, my wife, and you. I got to tell you, we had some crazy meetings, man. It's my 7th year, but I'm telling you right now, you have a mind and a way of thinking like not many other people that I've worked with. Combination of your own business background and just good sense and balance. And I'm going to miss you. I really am going to miss you. Good guy. And thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, no pressure, Chris, but that's your job now. to keep Paul in line. Nope,
Chris, if you hang around long enough, they get mushy at the end.
I'm just gonna get Tom's cell phone number. Call him whenever I need him.
Thank you, everybody. It's actually, it's been a great learning experience. I recommend it for a lot of people. Get out there where you got to work as a group and come to a consensus. It's been invaluable communication skills, and even Paul, you were part of developing my communication skills. So really, I'm gonna miss it. I wish I had more free time. I could stick with it, but it's the way it is. And but thank you for the kind words, and you guys will be great. Good administration, good board, and you should be fine.
And now as a
You can come to a meeting and sit in the audience and ask some questions
True.
again.
If I could add a few words.
yeah,
Tom, I was president 1 year and Tom was vice president. And Tom, your 9 years you've been on, you come up with great questions. I was always to be impressed. I wish I could have had some of the questions you had, but you just brought a great, I don't know where some of the questions came from, but I'm amazed and awed of some of the things you did. It's really, really impressive. So thank you for your service, really.
Thank you, John. I thought about, staying on long, trying to beat your record, but
you don't want to do that.
No, I only thought about it briefly.
And Tom, I invited all of the past board members and past superintendents that really liked you. I asked them to join us. None of them did.
Same kind of reaction at home.
Yeah, Tom, it was great working with you for my short term here. And I did everything Howard and John and everybody said. You were really great. You brought a great perspective, great balance to the board. You'll be missed. You didn't bring candy like Paul, and I always sat next to you. So Chris, if you're going to sit next to me, bring some candy or something.
Sweeten it up. Chocolate.
But thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks.
Tom, it's been fun. Thank you so much for everything. Thanks for keeping everybody stable on the team.
Yeah.
Claudia, those real bird shorts. Or
They
you
are.
got
They're real. They're for you. They're for you.
Did you ever see the Monty Pythons with the parrot? That's what she's got in her tree. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. What was the last thing? Oh, where am I? And I think that was it. Yep. All right. So, Howard, did you have anything?
Nope, I already said it. I thank Tom.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
Are we going to do Rick first, or was that changed?
Oh, I thought that was in the, yeah, we can do that. Yep.
I just want to text the Sal and Bouts.
Yeah, we
Ricky
have
can
some special
start, but I
guests.
want to text them and let them know.
I'll tell you while we wait, I don't know how many folks got a chance to get out and see the parade and get out and see the ceremony, but that was the coolest thing I've ever been in. The parade, other than the fire trucks leaving me completely deaf after that. But that was one of the most amazing turnouts of a village. The kids were amazing in the audience. The whole, I really enjoy the heck out of doing that. But that was a tremendous job, and Rick, fantastic, man. That was excellent.
Thank you very much. Am I on or am I waiting?
Yep.
You are.
No,
You
you're
can.
on.
You're on.
I'm on. All right. So thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And Mr. Hartswick just stole my thunder. I'm just kidding. So listen, despite the issues with our live stream, our graduation itself was a tremendous success. Simply incredible. I've shared with our team, to be honest, leading up to the graduation event, it felt insurmountable at times, just to make it as special as possible for our kids. But to so many people, from our district level team, to Mr. Ragusa, my committee members, Mr. Elliot Garcia with his technology assistance. Also, as previously shared, and thank you, Mr. Rosenbergen, the MEF, the PTO, and the fire and police departments. I truly am thankful for all the extras that they provided us to make this year's event really unforgettable. I guess if you're looking for indicators of how successful it was, you should have seen my inbox over the weekend. When I tell you the majority of our senior parents took the time to write and express their gratitude for all of my efforts and all those involved, for me, it was then really when I realized that it was everything that we had hoped for. It was epic. It was just that amazing. Even the town participation, as I've been told, lent like a real old world feel for the evening. I just wish you all could have been there. Am I wrong, Mr. Hartswick? Tessa, Hallie, am I wrong?
No, I got so excited driving in the parade. I left the people behind. It was like 4 cars missing behind me. That was awesome.
So before Tessa and or Hallie speak, I did prepare a brief 3-minute video highlight. I don't know if you want to see that now. I'll be respectful for the time. It's just entirely up to you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, great. I'll share my screen and then I'll turn it over to Tessa and Hallie. All right. Hold on a second. Sorry about that.
Why do I have a feeling that Elliot plans all these delays so he can come back in later and ask for money?
Can you see my screen or no?
No,
No.
but you should be able to share.
There we go.
There. No?
Yeah, hold on. All right, here we go. All right, enjoy. It's only three quick minutes. Can you see it?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
All right, so there you have it.
That was awesome.
That was great, Rick.
One thing I did want to say is somebody, and I don't remember who, sewed those Millbrook Blazer face masks.
Yeah,
Whoever did that, that was even that was cool.
that was our school nurse, Missy. Compliments of the PTO, though. Like I said, everybody just pitched in. It was just truly a team effort.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
No.
It is certainly not my place to speak. It is not my place to speak, but Mr. Sipe is not going to speak about the efforts that he made throughout this process because he's far too humble to do that. And I would be remiss as someone who was just trying to support him in any way I could. I watched this man send me emails at 1 o'clock in the morning. He was working tirelessly for weeks and days on end. And I just can't say the level of dedication that Mr. Sipe put in to making this moment be the most special it possibly could. The stress that he put on himself was unbelievable. And I spent a lot of hours just trying to let him know that the work he was doing was important. It was wonderful that his families, our whole educational family here at Millbrook, would recognize the efforts he was putting in. And I really have to say, because I know he will not do it himself, but this poor guy had like this huge beard going by the end, and I'm holding him as he's looking at everything being set up. And he's like, I just need everything to come together. I want this to be the best day it could be. And I really just got to say, I, as someone who's on the back of the parade, just trying to videotape out of the sunroof of my car and just be a small part of this thing, the efforts that he did in accompaniment with every single other person, it was just wonderful. And I can't say, it was so impressive for me on the outside looking in and just trying to support Mr. Sipe. You did an incredible job. And I just want to make sure he won't say it, so I have to say it. He was incredible. And I can't say enough about it.
You're too kind. Thank you very much.
And we asked a couple of students to join us and give us their impression of it, because honestly, that's the most important part.
Thank you for inviting them.
You probably, Tessa, or you guys probably have to unmute, I think.
No, I think they're okay.
They're unmuted.
Yeah, we can start.
Go ahead, ladies.
Take it over, ladies.
All right, I can start. Yeah, so graduation was awesome. It was amazing. The parade was awesome. Graduation itself could not have been better. I think it was one of the best graduations we've had at Millbrook. I've been at every graduation since freshman year, and it was awesome. And Mr. Sipe said it would be epic. It really was. So thank you so much. Next, I just wanted to highlight a part of what I said at graduation, which I think contains a message which might be helpful for next year's graduates. So it just goes, I've always stood for staying positive in even the worst situations. Sometimes bad things happen and we can't do anything to change that. What we can do is remember what we've been through, learn, and look forward to bigger and better things. This is having grit. You have to be in it to win it. So don't even let the biggest failures stop you. And to wrap up, I would just like to thank everyone from Millbrook who helped put this together. We're so fortunate to be surrounded by such loving and caring faculty and staff, teachers, administration, parents. Our teachers are so supportive. They're really there for us on a deeper level. They're not just there in the classroom. They came to our houses. They drove by our houses. They were cheering on for us the whole time. We've been at our houses all alone. So super thankful for that. Our class would not be where we are today without the community that we have. So I'm super thankful for everything and on through all the tough times we've had so far.
Cool.
Like Hallie, I have also been to every single graduation since the freshman was both in bands, so we played for them. And I also noticed that this was probably the most special one that we've had in the time that I've seen them. And the way that like not only the school district came together, but the community came together during that parade was really amazing. And I enjoyed the whole ceremony. I didn't feel like we were missing out on anything. In fact, I just thought it was more amazing than it has ever been. And it was just really amazing to see the support, like Hallie said, from our teachers during this whole time. The parades driving by our houses and bringing us the signs were really special. It was all very nice. And I'm so thankful that the school district put so much thought into our graduation. It really didn't make it feel like it was like that we were missing out on our senior year in any way whatsoever. It made a lot of good memories, and I just would really like to say, like, I'm very thankful for what everyone has done for us, because I don't think that a lot of schools had such a great senior year, and we definitely had an amazing end to our final year of school.
Excellent. But and I'm so happy you guys could join us, because that night was just, they looked like a giant whack-a-mole board out there at times, because every time somebody's name would get called, somebody would jump up from a sunroof, and it was just, the whole thing was beautiful. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This is really awesome.
Yes, thank
Very
you.
Cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right. Very nice.
No one's gonna want to go back to a regular graduation. That was pretty cool.
Well, you know, I wonder if we could ever repeat it, because, you know, the situation was so outrageous. You know, I mean, I can't believe there was more than 5 people in the village that weren't on the curb banging pots and pans. And I mean, it was, I don't know if we could recreate that whole thing, but it was very cool.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yep. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Good
Bye,
job,
girls.
Rick. Good job, Rick.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, great job.
All right. Now back to you, Laura, I think.
I think you should sound a little more excited than that, Perry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to say just what Steve was saying about Rick and all of his work and his team. I always think that there's so many moving parts, and it takes a great leader with great skill to orchestrate and ensure that people feel valued, heard, and still the vision and expectations are met. And it was spectacular. It was, like Haley said, it was epic. And I don't know if we'll be, you know, you set the bar really high. My light keeps going out. I guess it won't go back on. We'll see what next year brings, but you set it really high, that bar, and it was a great graduation. And I know it took hours of time and planning and facilitating and weaving, and so bravo to you, Rick and team. So,
my only comment, Rick, is that graduation song loop that you had. I think that was in my head for the next 6 days. If you could just stretch it out, put a little AC/DC in the middle, something, because that was, wow.
Mr. Ragusa was very kind to accommodate the families with their vehicles, and took a little bit longer than we expected. And poor Tessa, I know she just hung up, but she was getting a little stressed out too, because she was singing the national anthem. So she needed to take a break and go inside as well.
Mr. Hartswick, on the end of the parade, I will trade you the loop of the music for the constant fire horns that you only heard at the end, because I was getting them nonstop hanging out of the sunroof of my car.
I honestly don't know that fire trucks had like another gear of loud. I mean, when they went by us on the road by the high school, they did something. It was, what in the hell?
It was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and I get regularly accused of being loud if you've never heard such a thing.
It was cool. All right, very good.
I also wanted to welcome Chris. I have enjoyed working with you in the MEF arena, and now I'm looking forward to working with you in the board superintendent arena. And I wanted to say thank you, Tom. It's been, although short, it's been a pleasure working with you and speaking with you and getting your feedback. And I do want you to know that the district and the board got you a nice fancy dancy pen and pencil set with your name on it. Even your pen and pencil have Tom on them. So please enjoy. I know it's a small gift for all the great big things that you did. So thank
And
you.
the pencil doesn't have to be sharpened with a box cutter.
No.
Pretty good. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for the kind words, and it's easier walking away knowing you're there. So I'm my utmost confidence in you. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. So on to us some other things. Reentry planning. The reentry planning is the big buzz in all of the school districts. We're trying to figure out what the fall will look like, sound like, feel like for staff, students, and the community. So Caroline, Brian, and Elliot, and myself, we had attended some sessions, professional development sessions around responsive planning, specifically around responsive return planning. And that really helped inform a framework that we developed for this work. And this work, it requires collaborative work, collaborative decision-making, distributive leadership, a lot of communication between small groups and large groups, between families, communities, board members, staff members, building leadership, district leadership. And so it requires a framework, a strong framework to ensure that we don't miss the details, and we're also zooming out to the global pieces that need to be attended to. So the structures that we put in place, a collaborative reentry plan has a structure that has certain pieces to it right now. And it's the framework or the skeleton, and then over time we'll be adding meat to it. And that will come through the reentry team and the subcommittees. So right now, people ask, well, why are you doing a reentry plan? Well, the fact of the matter is there's urgency in the air. We know that school is going to open in September or in the fall. So we need to be prepared for our kids and our staff. We have 12 weeks, 60 days to get ready for this day or that somewhere in September. So as a team, we have a core team, which is Elliot, Caroline, Brian, and myself. And we're going to sort of help guide the work and be resources for folks who are working on specific areas of focus. And a reentry team, the reentry team has our principals, Elliot, director of facilities, director of food services, and transportation. So we have first student people there as well as the core team, and that's the reentry team. And we identified 6 areas of focus, knowing that there'll be lots of components underneath of them, but the larger foci are teaching and learning, athletics and extracurricular activities, food services, social emotional, transportation, and special education and PPS. So within those areas, it's been recommended by many, the state CDC, state ed, and professional developments that we've been attending, as well as county superintendent meetings, and there's a regional meeting too, to come up, identify scenarios. And really right now, the 3 broad scenarios are we're all back and business as usual, we're all remote, and then there's a hybrid somewhere in between. And we know that we should be planning for all of them, and that at some point, all of them may be employed over time due to changing or evolving situations or executive orders. So within that, those team structures will be working with subcommittees. And I believe you all received a survey. And if you weren't able to access it, I'm sorry, and I will send it back to you. We also invited staff, and we're also asking parents and community members to join in this work. And those subcommittee meetings will be facilitated by the reentry team. I hope I'm not losing anybody in this. It's multi-layered and it's got a lot of moving parts. And then we also have these common templates that we're going to use to sort of guide our discussions, monitor our progress, and assign the work. And then along with this are timelines. And we're reminded constantly that this is not a marathon. These are sprints that we're doing over time because we need to be strategic, intentional, and we need to be speedy about it as well. And we know that we're working to reopen a school, and it may not be perfect. There may be some missteps along the way. We're going to do the best we can with the information we have, as well as tailor it to the needs of our students and our staff. One
Hey,
thing that
Laura?
yep.
Laura, just a quick question. Do I understand it correctly? Is summer school face-to-face?
Summer school is face-to-face, and we are in the process of figuring out what that's going to look like as well. You'll see, I believe it's in the consent that you've approved, is it new summer school teachers?
Okay.
So we're just trying to figure out transportation, days, time, and buildings location right now.
And have you been given a schedule? Well, I know that's sort of a oxymoron, but have you been given a schedule by the state when they're going to checkpoint you guys?
For summer school?
Just everything, whether or not, as they change their quote unquote guidance, when will we start to see this? Or is it just, they'll wait till a week before school opens to send us guidance?
Yeah, we don't know. There is a rumor or a buzz that in the business portal, the state ed will be asking us for sort of a framework of our plans. I believe, at least the buzz is that it's around July 13th, that we'll have to go into the portal and give them some information regarding our reentry plan. It's exactly what they did when we were doing the continuity of education plan. So we were in the midst of planning, but we were able to provide some information of what it will look like, what it would look like for our kids. And then they asked us to revise it because we had a little more information and we were living it and could speak to it from experience. So I'm thinking that it'll be a very lean survey, and then over time they'll revisit and ask us to fill it out when we know more, and they provided us with more guidance.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, question. So Laura, the Regents has a reopening schools task force, which is meeting 4 areas of state. And on the 13th of July, the Board of Regents has a regulatory and policy discussion. I assume that's going to affect districts. Do you know how that's going to dovetail with what we're doing?
Well, we don't know how we're assuming it's going to dovetail because we use the regional buckets to inform our themes and focus as well. We're smaller and wouldn't be able to address all of those buckets. I think there were 9 or 8 of them. And so we chose the ones that were most important to us as a district. But we're following, I think many of the districts are following that structure to work with their teams as well. So we're walking side by side, not lock in step, because we're different. But I think they are going to use those regional sessions to inform policy and regulations with the hope that they'll be able to give us more guidelines as well. But we're not, I think we're aligned. It may look a little different, but we're aligned. So, and the last part of the professional development that spoke to me, and I think many of our members, is that we are in permanent whitewater. It's not an excuse, but we continue to be bombarded with new procedures, regulations, new rules, executive orders. So we can't control that, right? But what we can control is our paddle. So we can figure out what our directions are, what we're going to do, what we're going to achieve, our long-term and short-term goals, who's going to be included in this work, and how we're going to communicate it with the community, the board, and the staff. That's what we have control over. The whitewater, we're just going to have to navigate it. I feel like we've been experiencing whitewater all along, and you'll find out even during our summer meal program. Just when we were talking about it today, there was a change in rules. And as our Cheryl can speak to it, absentee ballots, she was in whitewater for weeks. So we have come to the realization that we're okay with this state of affairs, but we're just going to have to deal with it and make it happen for our kids, and make sure that we open a school that is strategic, intentional, purposeful, and meets the needs of all of our different learners. And as well as providing support for our teachers, since there's a sense of sensitivity. It's going to be very difficult for people to come back, and spending a lot of time on social, emotional, and then the academics, I think is important. So
we have an idea of how many parents are either committed to or considering just not sending them homeschool.
Thank you for asking. We just sent out a survey out to parents with those exact questions about their comfortableness around transportation coming into school. So we'll have more information when we meet next time.
Okay. And same thing with budgets. Do you have any idea? I mean, I don't know, but I would assume we'll need extra monitors if the kids are, kids and teachers all have to wear masks, and making sure they stay to those protocols. I mean, do you have any idea when we'll know if and how much we're going to require to implement the new, even busing? I don't know if I've heard some schools are doubling up on buses. How much more in transportation is going to be needed? When do we think we'll be able to get at least a rough order of magnitude estimate on that?
That's really going to happen through the work that we're doing with the reentry plan. Transportation is a focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the conversations we're going to have, because we need to know what our scenarios are. The scenarios are all in, all out, or a hybrid, and they're going to vary in structure, staffing, money. So we'll have more as we employ the subcommittee work. So we have asked staff and board members to respond to that survey within 24 hours or 48 hours. And then on Thursday, we're going to look at who submitted and what their areas of interest are. And then we're going to start setting up our teams. And then the facilitators, the co-facilitators who are reentry team members will reach out to those teams and set up timelines for meetings. And
So
then,
do you think, oh, sorry, Laura, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so do you think that we'll actually be able to, let's say that 70% of our parents come back and say they're going to homeschool them, they don't want them in the school. And I'm making this up, but let's say that number comes out. Do you think we'll actually be given the authority to say, guess what? We're not opening the schools. We're going to distance learn the whole district this year. I mean, it doesn't seem like we've ever been given that kind of, it's always comes down from on high.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'll actually get, because I would hate to have even, high 30% of the district says they're not sending their kids. Because if that's the case, I'd hate to see that happen. Maybe we should consider another year of distance learning. Again, it all depends on the feedback. My question is more about, do we actually think we could do something like that without, just figure it out?
Yep. I mean, this first survey is really a canvas just to get a temperature of what families are thinking and feeling. It's non-committal. Some may be, some from hardship just saying no, or sickness and just saying no way are my kids going, but they may change their minds in a couple of months. I think summer school is probably a good litmus to sort of see how we're feeling, how our kids are feeling. What's the weirdness? What does social distancing look like? What is the wearing of masks, and what does that entail of reminders? I think we're just going to have to ease on into it and see where we need to tweak our plans or adjust. So we'll see.
What happens if one group comes up with two tracks of thoughts with goals and assumptions, and they don't really jive with another group that has 4 different tracks? How's this gonna fit together?
Good question, John. It's all about communication. It's a sort of, Caroline used it as a yo-yo. I use it as a funnel. The core down into the reentry, down into subcommittees, information funnels back up or yo-yos back to the core. So we're making sure that the connections are made. And then we have subcommittee support systems. We thought facilities might be its own theme or bucket. I'm trying to get the language right, what we use. But thought maybe that actually is a group, or Mike Ragusa and his team, and they're visiting these meetings when needed. So if the nurses need to speak to facilities, they would jump in and answer questions. The same with technology. We don't have a technology
Grand.
subcommittee, he's everywhere, right? His team is everywhere, so they'll jump in.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for asking that.
I have a question. I don't know if it's for Laura or for Caroline, but I know that for the last couple of years, we've talked about the size of the classroom. I know for the IB, we talked about we can't have any, we don't want to have any less than 10. And in the last couple of years, we've talked about how many we don't want any more of in a classroom, the high number. How is that coming as far as this year's planning going? What's the high number, and what is that going to look like if we do have to go into a new realm? If the kids all come back to school, how is that going to look like in the classrooms? What is the maximum number of kids we have now? Because like I said, we didn't want to have a high number. We wanted to have, a smaller size classroom. I think, what does that look like?
Caroline, you want to take it, or would you like me?
Me too. So right now that's going to be dictated by CDC guidance and whatever comes down from the state. The number that we're hearing is 50% capacity. And we've heard that might be by building or by classroom. And that's really kind of dependent. We're hearing things like the number 11. So we have nothing official as of yet in terms of what that will look like. But the number that we keep hearing is 11. That's the last official number that I've heard. I don't know if, Brian, you have anything different from anything that you've heard in any of the other literature that you've read most recently.
I don't, accept that they're talking about moderate versus what's the terminology? Moderate social distancing versus stronger social so they're talking about 11, and particularly on the buses, and maybe with moderate social distancing instead of 11, because that's the magic number for the school bus. Also, maybe you can go to 22. So it's really it's about the guidance. we're waiting for it, but preparing for everything that we can.
So if that's the case, so if it's going to be 11, let's say it is, they're going to put 11 in a classroom. How is it going to work with the teachers? How does that work? And like I said, let's say what my big question is, because it's a hot button that I've been asking about for the last couple of years, is if you have a classroom size of 21, 22, 23 kids, I don't know what the maximum is. I think we were trying to, if I'm not mistaken, Perry, I think we were trying to get the classes smaller to have a better handle on some of them instead of having such a high number of children in the class. Is that something, that was discussed? Let's say we all go back as normal, quote unquote normal, and we have our normal classes. Have you made them smaller? And then on the other hand, if we do go back and you have 11, how does that look like with the teachers? How is that, how's that going to work? I'm sure that's a question.
Yeah, so I think that there's probably no version of this paradigm where we go back in the fall and things are normal, as in they were in the fall of 2019. So I don't think that happens. That's a very far reality from where we are right now. I don't think we just walk in and there are no masks and, kids walk into class and things are desks in rows or desks in pods like they've always been. So I think that normal is not going to be a reality. A new normal is something that we're going to be envisioning. Part of what the planning is going to be with these reentry teams is going to be reimagining what a new normal might look like. And some of the things that we're going to be doing, we in the reentry team with the larger group, including the principals, facilities, transportation, Holly, and the central administration, we've kicked around some ideas. I think it's a little premature to kind of put them out there publicly because we don't have the benefit of having input from teachers and input from community members who may be able to look at us and say, well, what about this? And be able to really enhance the ideas that we already have. We know that we have this space, the physical space in our buildings to be able to social distance at 50% in the physical space in our buildings and have each of our students physically here on campus without any classroom at capacity greater than 50%, meaning if we took our typical class sizes that we have, we could actually have 50% capacity in each classroom, and have students spread out safely based on the square footage that we have, 50% in each classroom, spread out. So long as we are within the guidelines, we would be able to do that. What that would mean in terms of how we would accomplish that with our staffing and all of that, we would have to figure that out from there. However, if it's an alternative between having half of our students home, half of our students here, we've kicked around some ideas of how we might be able to make that happen. But nothing that's been fleshed out, nothing that's been discussed with the larger subcommittees, teaching and learning, special education, PPS, social emotional, any of those other subcommittees. So it's a little bit early to be discussing that, but we've definitely discussed some ideas. We believe we would be able to make it happen.
Okay, thank you.
That is real quick. So yeah, I think we're kind of digging in. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but you've outlined here the structure to answer all these questions.
Correct.
And the timeline. So yeah, we're kind of just gotta give them time to implement the.
Yeah, and so
plan.
as we move along with the work, we'll make sure that we keep you, the board, updated. And of course, we welcome you to join in these subcommittees if you can. It would be great.
Just remember, Laura, that and Caroline, that band and chorus are a horse of a different color. They don't fit into any neat little, 50% box.
Laura and the central office, Caroline, Brian, Elliot, you guys, listen, you're taking the lead on this. Being in the district and working in the same field you guys are in, I see things from the same lens. And I got to tell you, I'm already stealing stuff from you guys because we're ahead of the game. And I'm really impressed. I'm really proud to be a part of it because I think you guys are taking the issues that the could be's, would be's, and all of that, and letting people at least be involved in the process at some point, although it might not go the way, all 9 or 10 people on a committee might recommend, but at least the conversations were had and then decisions are made. I think you guys will make good decisions, and I thank you for your leadership. It's been great to work with you guys. I'm looking forward to it and to steal things too, but you guys doing a great job. I appreciate it.
And I think, it's great that we've got, 3 months this year where we sort of got to practice how to do this. And then another summer school session that can give us a chance to sort of test some of these things. So hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to figure it out as long as we're getting the guidance on time.
And I think
That's
you'll get
probably
a
the
gist,
biggest.
you'll get a gist of a lot of things, like the simple questions of how many parents are planning to drive their kids now, as opposed to even letting them go on the bus. I got to be honest with you, I'd be one of those parents that my wife would definitely drive Cammy, you know what I mean? So that's a big question. What does that look like for you guys? So those things I think will all be answered. And like Caroline said, it's going to be a different new beginning. It's going to be a beginning like we've never seen. And Perry, your point of, how many parents might just want to keep this going like this from now until maybe January. They might not be comfortable to send their children back. And that's another thing. Talk about time frames. You have things set up, and then what parameters can we say are we going to review it quarterly for students to be able to re-enroll, or are people just going to be able to come back like whenever they want to? So those are all good things that you guys are right on top of, and I'm really impressed. I have to tell you all, I really am. So thank you.
Yeah, I think the point too is it's being nimble. We don't know, things could change, tomorrow, and we'll have to respond to ensure that the district is running smoothly. So it's good work, and thank you for letting, sharing that, Paul. I appreciate it. And then one last piece is if people start saying, oh, I want to homeschool or group homeschool, that's going to impact Cheryl. Cheryl facilitates all of that homeschooling. So how does that impact her workload and who she will need to support her in that change or that wave of change? So everything's going to impact everybody in some way or fashion.
Is there a middle ground, Laura, that, let's say that, I don't know, the fourth grade, only 50% of the kids are actually coming in. Instead of having 50% homeschooled and 50% schooled in our building, could we offer, basically a Zoom that the kids in the class could be in the class and the kids at home could be tied into the class? Or is that just not allowed?
I think though that's all the conversation for teaching and learning and technology facilities. Those are the conversations we're going to have. What if and can we? Let's not wait for guidance.
Yeah, a lot of the universities, I mean, even before this happened, you signed up for the class or you signed up for the DL class, but it's still the class. You just happen to be distance and you're tied in and you're just like we are, but there's a group that's on this thing that is actually in the classroom. And I don't know if that's, who knows what guidance we're going to get, but
Yeah.
okay. Anything else, Laura?
I have a couple more things. I just have to put my light back on. I had to fix this light. Sorry. I had Blackboard mass notifications noted in my report. And just during this pandemic, when communications needed to be timely, dependable, and flexible more than ever, we quickly learned the limitations of our current messaging system. And I know, Perry, you and I have spoken about it. So in response, we've been exploring other messaging tools, including Blackboard mass notifications. And I have a little experience with this system, and it's pretty powerful. They believe in creating once and distributing everywhere. So I think it's simple and powerful, and they call that code. This communications tool has the ability to text, email, call, push out to an app, update your website alerts all at once with one message. You do have to do a little tailoring just because of the length of messages. Texts have to be a certain number of characters, but the message is the same, and you're getting it in all different ways, which really meets the needs of all of our learners and communicators out there. We know we have some text people, we have some phone people, we have some email people, and some people will just go to the website. So, and also this system can integrate effectively with other tools that we use in Millbrook. So it can integrate the Facebooks and the Twitter feeds into one place too. So even though there's different things happening in Twitter and Facebook in our buildings, it will still integrate them to produce one message and one-stop shopping. So we're hoping to explore this more and possibly bring this on board. Again, we lessons learned from School Messenger that it was a little faulty for many reasons. And now we know the power of communication, and we just need it to work. We need it to be timely. We need it to be clear. We need it to be dependable. So we'll keep you posted on that work. And then lastly, I have some shout outs. I hope all of you dads had a wonderful Father's Day. The district and building leadership sent out a message just wishing you a happy Father's Day and hoping that you found time to relax and enjoy whatever you like to do, whether it was with your family or away, just away from everybody, fishing, dad downtime, whatever it was. We hope that's what happened for you. MEF, Chris and team, thank you for the amazing senior portrait lawn signs and the scholarships. You did the funding, the ordering, the picking up, the installing of the signs, and we so appreciate your thoughtfulness, your creativity, your support, and your generosity. It's super special what MEF does for the district and everyone in it.
Thank you, Laura.
We recently received a shout out for our food services from a parent, and I just wanted to read what she wrote. The Millbrook food service delivery has been amazing. My children have enjoyed meeting the van for delivery. This has provided them with some normalcy in an abnormal situation. The food has impressed both my husband and I. The packaging and nutrition has been beyond what we expected. The Millbrook food service staff has really outdone themselves. The hard work definitely shows. So I always appreciate when family and communities take the time Sometimes they want to complain, and that's fine. Sometimes they have recommendations, but they also find time to shout out the good work that's happening in our district. So bravo to the food service. Thank you so much. Yesterday, our middle school hosted a drive-through moving up ceremony. It was blisteringly hot, but lovely for our 8th graders. Families entered the middle school campus in their cars. They were announced by our very own Joe Carbone on the loudspeaker. They were cheered by staff as they made their way through the parking lot and came to the middle school entrance, where they were greeted and honored by Steve, their principal, Claudia, our board member, Brian, Joanne, and Janet, and myself. Students received a book donated by Rotary, and they also received certificates and various awards for their hard work. And then a huge shout out to my Cheryl, who led the absentee ballot charge and balanced everything else on her job, roles and responsibilities. She developed a system, set up teams, ordered supplies, worked with council in ensuring compliance, coordinated with the tech department, met each new and or modified executive order in her always cool, calm, and collected manner, and just made it all happen. So I just want you to know that I truly appreciate your commitment to getting it right, your eye for detail, your due diligence, and your sense of humor. You are my hero, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Cheryl's got a sense of
appreciate it.
humor.
Not me.
Jesus.
She sure does.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate it. And I really just want to take this opportunity to thank the team that came in and helped me. So as soon as we heard that the vote was extended, Carrie Weller and Janet Monahan came in immediately and came in every single day with me and went through the floods of ballots that were coming in, and we counted and counted and recounted and made sure that everybody was accounted for. So before we even went in to do the count. And then we had 12 people who did the count with us. That was Camille Patron, Michelle Hartswick, Charlene Hartley, Robin Hughes, Janine Kasek, Anna Marie Mascari, Wanda Munez, Jean Tobin, and Joanne Winters. And so I could not do any of this without them. And we had YouTube decided that our vote was inappropriate. 12 women opening envelopes was a little over the edge for them. So they shut us down. So our technology team, I need to thank Elliot and James. They got right on it and they kept me very calm because they are calm. It was definitely a moment when I could have lost my mind. And it took us about an hour to figure out and get us back up on another link, but they did it. So we were kind of behind the ball as we got started. So these women hung in there. They were awesome. So I just really want to express my gratitude to these women for making it happen. They had to touch mail that we don't know where it was coming from. And they just came in and got it done. And, you know, they love our district and that's why they show up. So I appreciate all of them. So, and all of your support as well. So thank you.
So just one thing for Elliot or James, we really need to look at this live streaming. You know, not only did it drop, you know, YouTube kicked us out early, but later on it froze up. And I assumed it was still going because there was no noise, but I knew it was muted. And I had the thing sitting there on the whole night. And then I realized no one's moved in like an hour. And then we had the same thing, the live streaming issue at graduation. I don't know if they're the same, if it's an infrastructure thing, but let's just make sure that those guys check it out so that, you know, if we want to do this in the future, we don't have to fight our way through it.
Yep. So.
All right.
And I just want to mention with the reentry plan, we attached our PowerPoint that we used to sort of provide the reentry team with an overview and a plan of action. So if I didn't do it justice in my description, please go there. I think you'll get a real good feel of the structures that we have set up and where we'd like to go with this work. So if you have time.
Where is that, Laura? Laura, where is that again?
Attached to the agenda.
Yep, it's in the
Okay.
superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thanks.
And so I just want to say one more thing. I just also wanted to say, Tom, it's been a pleasure working with you. Your knowledge, you have a deep knowledge of the laws and what has to happen, and I really appreciate that. And it's just been a pleasure. And you two have a great sense of humor, so I'll miss that.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I've enjoyed the policy committee. Apparently, I'm not quite done.
Nope.
I haven't opened that last email, but I suspect I'm not quite done.
That's basically what it says.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they set up 6 meetings between now and the end of the month. All right. I think the principal's report we already did, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then we move to old business. We were going to have this in the consent agenda, and I got so confused as to exactly what this was that I figured we needed to pull it and bring it before the board just to make sure if anybody has any questions. So Brian, are you going to take that one?
Sure, I can. So this was a donation that was made to Alden Place. It was an anonymous donation, but in fact, what ended up happening with this is this was and it's part of our what we're referring to as ongoing cleanup. What this was actually a fundraiser by the class of 2021. So when the error was found, the business office highlighted it as something that needed to be able to go into the extra class fund. And there's additional detail that we could talk about at some point. But the accounting of it is such that it goes to the class of 2021, and it's supposed to, and there's no donation that's needed for that. So that donation, the check was already cut back to the class of 2021. So this board action is catching up with the accounting.
So before we do any questions, do we have a motion?
So moved. Oop, second.
All right. Any discussion, questions on this?
What meeting did the board approve this?
This was the April 9th meeting, 2019.
Oh, 2019. Wow.
That's correct.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right, very good. Let's see. New business. Do we have a motion on the, where are we? Oops.
Financials.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get it to move right. Do we have a motion on the financial reports and warrants?
So moved.
Thanks, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Any discussion? Anybody? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. All right, very good.
Perry, a point of order here. Did we skip over personnel?
No, it's underneath, John. It's below.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I thought personnel was E, new business F. Okay.
E's old
It's
business,
G.
right? Oh, there you go. So we only needed one motion, all right? All right, excuse me, accept the donation from Anonymous. Basically, the rest of the story. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Claudia. Any questions, comments?
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. Approve the scholarship fund. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Claudia.
Welcome.
Do we have a second?
Second. Beat you, Jen.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any against? All right, very good. All right, the summer meal plan. Why don't we move into that? Because there's some questions here for the board, you know, basically what direction do we want to go? So I will let Brian and our Ms. Hetty take us through that.
Great. So good evening once again. So we have an opportunity here, which as of this afternoon, we found out might not even be our choice, whether or not it's whether or not we can choose to embark on this. We just got a notification from ASBO that it may be true that school districts are going to be absolutely on the hook for providing services. And that just came through, I would say, I don't know, 4 o'clock-ish. So we're learning more, and yeah, so we're paddling in our white water. But before we got there, it wasn't lost on us that for the very first time, we've been eligible to do summer program. Typically, we're not eligible to do a summer program because our free and reduced lunch percentage is much lower than it needs to be eligible to do that. So because of this whole COVID thing, one of the silver linings may be, from a revenue standpoint, that we have the opportunity to do a summer program. So before Holly makes application, we're in a spot where we have to make a decision here whether or not the board wants to approve our participation in the school lunch summer program. So that's a little bit of the background. And now, Holly, take it away. And you're on mute.
Try now, Holly. You're still muted.
There we go.
There you go. I can't hear you though. No. Don't hear you.
Do your earbuds definitely have a microphone in them?
No.
If you go down to where that mute button is and you see the little up arrow next to it, click that up arrow and it'll tell you whether you're using the microphone in the computer or you're using your earphones, and just choose the one you want to have work.
Holly, you want a laptop or an iPad?
On a laptop.
And your buds are no longer plugged in? Sign language?
Shadow puppets.
So just write it all out.
You know.
All right, well, can she share her file and you
Yeah, yep, but
speak to it?
try it this way.
You can also call in, can't you?
She could call in.
Oh, that's a good thought.
Yeah.
Her mic is giving her an error.
Okay, all right.
Good job, Chris. Good job.
I wanted my first contribution to be a good one.
We assume everyone makes good ones until they become a board member.
All right. So Holly, if you could figure out how to call in on the invite, and if I do have a document to share, would everybody like to see that right now? And in the meantime, it's a very,
Or we can jump ahead, do the personnel stuff, and then come back.
Yep. Do you want to do that, Holly? You can try to go to the invite and then we'll move on and come back to you.
All right, so first under personnel is to accept the letter of resignation for purposes of retirement of Karen Ferguson. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Well-
Bring it in with gratitude for the years of service.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's my kids were in school when she was there. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't realize she had been there for 18 years. But that's another, it's going to be a huge loss to the district. So I don't know if Karen's not on. Is Karen on?
She's
No,
not.
she's going to
She
be here
couldn't
today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll,
All right.
we'll
Well,
invite her in July and we'll flood her with kindness when we see her.
there you go. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against?
No, I just want to say Karen was very valuable, stepped in at the high school when we needed her to, a very multifaceted administrator and, you know, very, very kind heart. My daughter went through a lot at Elm early on and Karen was right there for us. And I have to tell you, in being in the profession, I gained a lot of respect in watching her work with the whole district. So I look forward to her moving on to the next part of her life and wanted to say thank you as well.
Thanks, Paul. All right. Then we've got the appoint part-time food service helpers and approve salary increases. This is the basically we appoint them every year. Is that correct, Brian?
yeah, all of our part-time employees have to be appointed every year as opposed to our, full-time staff who just kind of sail through.
Yeah.
And we're not recommending any increase at this point up until January 1st. And that's when the mandatory minimum wage goes up and it'll go up by another 70 cents to $12.50.
Interesting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, Brian, could you, not to put you on the spot now, but could you let us know how many hours a year these folks work? I'd just like to understand what the extra cost, not necessarily for 2021, but just in general, like how many hours per year these folks work? And then I could just multiply times whatever the state.
Sure. And I can do that for you now. It's 4 hours a week for 40 weeks. So about 160 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? All right. Holly, did you make it back in?
No. Holly, do you want to leave the meeting and then sign back in? Sometimes that'll work.
It's probably an issue with her microphone that just
Yeah.
probably needs to be updated. But sometimes you can fix it by using that, like I said, the up arrow next to the mute button.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll get going. And
pop that
Holly,
back
if I
and
mess
forth.
this up too bad, give me one of these and I'll stop.
Oh, she's frozen. Maybe she went out.
All right.
Okay. All right. So this is what Holly created. This is the proposal for a summer food service program, and it's the information. The program dates would be starting in 3 days. What she's proposing is that families would be picking up food 2 to 3 times a week, because if we were to do a transportation piece, it would just be too cost prohibitive to be able to do that. So families would come pick up food 2 to 3 times a week. We have the ability to provide food at its breakfast and lunch. 7 days a week. So that's what we're proposing to be able to do. So Holly, with help from Cheryl Devine, made phone calls, and we contacted the current 175 kids, well, the families of the 175 kids who are currently receiving meals. And we have learned that 70 children would like to participate in meal pickup. So we knew that we would lose some. It was very convenient just to have it delivered to your house. And now approximately 70 out of the 175 would be willing to participate. So when Holly did the calcs on the total revenue, and was there a question?
Just a call.
Okay.
Just a call.
When Holly did the calcs on the total revenue, and in this case, revenue is only aid. That's just whatever we'd get reimbursed for from the state and from the feds. The revenue would be about $30,000. And then she cost out food, supplies, and labor, which would be the total amount of our expenses. And that yields a projected profit of about $5,300, which I guess would be about 25% of 20 to 25% of what we had projected our loss to be. So we're looking at this as a potential opportunity, and we're hoping that if we do this, that we might get grandfathered in and may have the opportunity to continue a summer program. But if it's the board's pleasure to go into this, we're hoping that we know that at least 70 kids would be fed, where otherwise that we don't know if that would happen. So that's the most important piece for us. We're taking care of kids, and it comes right now at a projected profit. And of course that comes with assumptions, right? We're assuming that and we don't have any other information as of right now because we can't get it, but we're assuming that our vendors are going to hold on their prices based on the 1920 bid documents, even though it's another year. And we're assuming the participation of the 70 kids who committed to doing that. So at any time, anybody could back out and say, well, thank you, we decided that we're not going to come pick it up anymore. We don't get aid for that at that point. So it's our projected profit to say that we're going to be getting 5,300. But if our assumptions don't work out, and then our revenue is certainly going to decrease. Our expenses will decrease too over time, but marginally. But we're hoping to be able to make about $5,300. And chop into our deficit, and again, most importantly, be in a position to feed 70 kids.
When do you, Brian? When do you think you'll actually have commitment from our suppliers? I mean, if you go to the grocery store, hamburger went from $2 a pound. I don't know what it is, but it's up in the $7 or $8 a pound. I mean, it's gotten insane. I don't know whether those folks are going to keep those commitments or not. Is that something you'll have like soon?
Yeah, not in time for us to make a decision, because a decision, I mean, if you see that we're already behind the 8 ball, not by anybody's fault, but just because the program dates are what they are. All right. So we don't know. We don't know the answer to that, but to your point from before, we'd have to do some version of a projection. I'm hoping that there's goodwill out there and they do hold their prices, but when we talk to them about kids being fed, hopefully we'll be able to tug on their heartstrings a little bit and just the humanity of it all. But you're right, the cost of all foods and supplies, frankly, have gone up tremendously.
Okay, so we don't need a motion, we just need sort of direction, right?
We will need a motion.
I don't see the motion in the agenda.
Yeah, Cheryl's got it though. She's on it.
Oh, suddenly her smile has washed away. There's the sense of humor gone.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any, is this only, this food service is only something a school can provide? Or can others provide this?
No, so interesting that you should ask that question, because part of the guidance that we just received from ASBO, which again, it's just out, but they did make the statement that if there was a community organization that within the confines of the district that's providing it, that the district may not be responsible for providing it. So, but again, more to figure out once we get additional guidance.
I mean, I know schools now do many things. It's just not our prime mission, but.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
The other question I had is when does the revenue, when do we get reimbursed? Is it coming the same fiscal year?
I don't know how the summer revenue comes in. Holly, I'll need some help from you on how summer comes in.
I'd be a little concerned that we're laying the money out and we can't collect it for a year, perhaps.
Yeah, and that's probably reality. And in fact, that's a reality in the regular year too. It wouldn't be, it may be quicker. Let's see if we could read some lips. Go ahead, Hal. There's a chat function too, I think. You know what? But yeah, cash flow shouldn't be an issue for us, John. It may be true. We would, on the accounting side here, we would have to potentially do some due to, due froms, which are things that we cover in any case. Holly's saying it's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, you know, we keep saying that the state might cut our financial aid by this. They might cut it by, I mean, the same thing could happen to this it just as easily, I would think. All right, so Cheryl, did you update the motion or send me you're muted, by the way, Cheryl.
Okay, so it took me a while to figure this out, but I'm putting Holly on speaker.
Oh, that's horrible.
You'll have to, Holly, mute your button. No. Mute your computer.
I think I heard this song at a Pink Floyd concert once.
I muted her.
Good. Okay, go ahead. No go.
Yeah.
All right. You want to tell me? Okay. All right. She's trying it again.
Brian, can you take down the screen share?
Sure.
Thank you.
And you can't unmute her, Cheryl?
It's not working. Every time I hit it, it's something with her speaker. Yeah.
All right.
So Brian, so we would have to cover that $30,000, perhaps. We're not sure.
Well, Holly's telling me no, but let me tell you, in the worst case scenario, there would be there could be a due from the general fund, and we would be able to cut be able to pay for everything. And in any case, we would have to wait for our revenues. We're always in a waiting cycle for revenues, which is part of a portion of the issue in terms of getting the board information on time.
So this is not going to be a surprise or any kind of issue for this year fiscally.
Okay. Oh, so she's sharing now that the summer program has an advance. So she has experience from running summer programs in Hyde Park for many years, and probably Poughkeepsie also. So we've never run one here. And we're hoping that, like I said before, that in doing it, and other districts will share that a summer program actually is a moneymaker for the school district. Because the reimbursement is generally higher. So if we're able to get grandfathered in and use kind of Corona as our entree into the ability to do that, and if they do grandfather us in after this, then that's only of benefit. So what is the summer program has in advance? One is available in June and one is in July. So they'll cut a check faster and send it through.
All right, good.
Good.
All right, I guess we have a motion in board docs, I think.
Harry,
Let's-
Holly's trying another computer right now, so hang on. She's getting another laptop to try. She just put a message out there.
Yeah. Let's see.
You might have to refresh board docs to see the change that I made.
Yeah, I'm looking now, make sure I can get to it. Where are we? Summer meal program. Yep. All right, so I'll just read the motion. So be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the school district's participation in the summer food service program during July and August of 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions? Did Holly make it on?
Yep, she should be in just a second. There she is.
No, she's still on mute. Holly, unmute your
All right,
computer.
hold on.
Hi.
Hi, yay!
Sorry about that, everyone. I kind of missed kind of a lot of it. But I'm available if you have questions.
Okay, so were there any other questions for Holly? Let's go. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
I think the next thing, so I bounce around, is to go to executive session to discuss, seek legal advice from counsel and collective negotiation pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law. Do we have a motion to go to executive session?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second? Okay. All in favor? Any against? All right, very good.
I just texted Beth to let her know that you were ready. So just give her a minute and I'll start your breakout room.
Will there be any
Okay.
action taken place?
Potentially, there could
Okay.
be
Harry
afterwards.
mentioned that? I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay.
Yeah, there's, we may go back to public session, have to go back to public session to actually make those motions.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to think who all we need in the executive, of course, the board. Sorry, Chris, can't send you over yet. I guess Brian and Caroline and Holly probably. Is that right?
I don't, well, first is Beth Harris. And that's
yes.
SE.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if does Holly make sense for the next one, but your call.
Yeah, actually, I mean, we can just do it, keep the assistant soups and you and the board.
Okay, thanks.
All that work to get on for 30 seconds. I don't know.
Guess I have to get my computer back to school. Talk to Elliot. Need a mic.
Krista, how was your first board meeting?
It was wonderful.
Great, great to hear.
Wow.
So convincing.
I've been to many, so I knew what to expect.
Oh, I have 2 Toms and I can't tell the difference from each of them. That's a problem.
Well,
You could
One
change.
has glasses on.
So if is Tom going to the, so can he leave the meeting now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meeting.
I'm gonna remove you, Tom.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Tom, thank you,
Thanks very
buddy.
much, everybody.
Bye,
Good to see you.
Steve.
Mr. Lemfuel,
Rick.
thank you for everything.
Thank you,
Mr.
Rick.
Rosenberg, welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks for everybody's
Stephen.
support.
Chris, thank you for stepping up. If I can do anything to help you out, they'll give you my
And I
number.
hate, and I hate to
appreciate
say
your
it, Holly,
support.
but you can split too.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Welcome, Chris.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Good night, Holly.
Night.
Bye, Holly.
Bye.
Bye, Holly.
Bye.
Now she can't get out.
I was gonna say, you're still there.
What are you doing? Okay, I'm really leaving.
Poor Holly. So stressful.
Does everybody see this over my head?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
too cute.
Okay, see if it moves.
Aw.
So
Oh,
sleepy.
there. My little Holly girl.
Speaking of bear, we had a we had a bear go through my neighbor's yard the other day. I know a lot of other people are used to them, but it freaked me out. Big
Yeah, just
paws.
make them make a lot of noise.
I've still never seen a bear in the wild, which is driving me crazy.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah. I've got, it's like,
Sir,
what's
do
on
you
my
have Beth's
bucket
number
list?
too?
I haven't either, Tom. I just saw a video.
Oh.
Last
So
year I was
scared me.
playing. Last year I was playing golf in Saugerties, and as one of my,
Girl,
I'm
you
getting
need
ready
to
to
call
putt.
her?
No, she just came in.
Are we staying here, Cheryl, or are we all? we gotta
No,
go
I'm
to-
gonna move you because then I can't, I have nowhere to go.
You're recording.
Go get a snack.
And we're live, that would be bad, and recording.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Beth,
Yep.
but I can't see you.
Okay, yeah, my security settings won't let me do that. So is it okay if I just participate verbally?
Yes, I just want to make sure I put you in the breakout room.
Tom, what are you gonna do on your Tuesday nights?
So if I have some spare time, I don't know, I got some ideas. Maybe not Tuesday night specifically, but a little more free time, maybe search out some recreational water a little more.
Ah,
Some time to have some fun, so I gotta scale it down. I've been working hard for too many years. So, getting too old.
You guys see that you're able to join your room?
Yeah.
Okay. Beth, you can, okay, good.